All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Evolutionary Instinct. Today, I have a very special guest, Rex Demming, one of my good friends. Our relationship, spans some time now, and it started in a place that is very much based around all the topics that we talk about here. And Rex is one of the most dedicated, one of the most disciplined individuals that I know. And his experiences, span from aerospace engineering to starting a business and entrepreneurship, self-development. He's definitely one of those guys that you want to hear. So I want to introduce you guys to Rex. Tell the audience who you are, brother, and let's get into today's call, man.
All right, and thank you for the introduction, brother. So yeah, thanks, Aiden. My name is Rex. I'm born in Puerto Rico and I currently live here. So first language is Spanish. So if you guys, hear any miscommunication from my part, I'll apologize from the get-go. But yeah, so a little bit about me. Born and raised in Puerto Rico. Um, I don't come from a lot of money, right? So my parents struggled a bit when I was younger and I had to really get good grades at school to maybe get a good education at college and all that. So anyway, yeah, early childhood, spent a couple schools. Actually, I started off in private schools, especially specifically a military private school. So from the age of like 5 all the way through like 12, I think, not 12th grade, like 12 years old. I was taking 2 English courses daily, and that really got my understanding on the English language really set up, and also the discipline, right? So being a military school, we drilled like 3 times a week, and it was an actual like course. It wasn't like you took Spanish, you took English, you took science, and you took drilling. So drilling was just like you had to stand up uh, in fourth grade with your uniform on, information with a drill sergeant telling you, "Hey, go left, go right, do this, do that," and I don't know. So looking back, at that time, it felt like it was too much, but looking back, it was like, damn, this is a lot of discipline that got really ingrained in me in a really young age, and that carried me through the rest of my years, as you are going to find out.
How old were you
Um,
then when you went to the military school?
excuse me.
How old were you when you went to the military school? What ages?
Oh, 5 years old, brother. I started in
Wow.
kindergarten. Yeah.
Holy shit. From 5 to what age?
Yeah, about 12 years old, 13
In military school.
in military, like formation
Yeah.
years, early
Yeah.
childhood to maybe prepubescent in military school, like drilling 3 times a week. So,
That's
yeah,
hardcore, bro.
so
I love it. That
so
makes sense now. I can see why that is. Like, there's so much order and structure in your aura and like the way you move. So like I like that. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Then what? Then what happened after
yeah, I
that?
appreciate it. Also the haircut. I got accustomed to the short haircut and the buskins.
That's right. Yeah, we can definitely relate to that.
Yeah, so after that, it was too expensive, right? So we have to move to another school, and we could move into the public school system, which in the United States is notorious, but in Puerto Rico even more so, because here corruption and budget don't really, go hand in hand. I think in the last 5 years they're closed like thousands of schools because of deficits in budget and whatever. So rough schools, public schools in the island, but not complaining. I saw a lot of fighting, saw a lot of drugs. Sometimes there were shootings, and in middle school, man. So,
Wow.
it's like got to grow up in that kind of environment, and I always, hanged out with the gamers. I was a big time
Yeah,
gamer
I hear
back
you.
then,
Yeah,
playing
same
Call of
here.
Duty, Modern Warfare with my
Bro,
friends
remember
after
Modern
school.
Warfare 2? Yeah, that was my shit, bro. Yeah. You have
Yeah.
beef, I'll meet you at Rust, 1v1.
Yeah,
You remember those days? Yeah.
definitely. Yeah,
Nice.
I
Yeah.
won a lot of quick scoping matches in my
Oh
day.
yeah, nice.
You always talk shit to my house to my classmates. So like, yeah, I'm the best in the bunch.
Yeah,
So that dynamic that you guys talk about here of being
yeah.
like being the best at something,
Competitive,
even though
like be the
even though I
best.
wasn't physically, yeah, even though I wasn't physically like the best specimen around, uh,
Mhm.
in gaming, I was still competitive at something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Yeah,
always
whatever
felt
you
like
got
a cool
engaged
kid.
in, right? Whatever you got was like mentally engaged in, whether it be a sport or whether it be gaming or whatever. Like that's how I was too. Like I have to fucking win. You know what I mean? It's like my competitiveness, right? Which definitely is very important. But yeah, and then so was this all in Puerto Rico? You saw this stuff, or did you go to the US? You said.
No, I never went to Puerto Rico for schooling. I was in Puerto Rico up until, yeah, I didn't took my first plane ride was when I was in college. I think it was my fourth year in
Okay.
college, and it was like for Washington D.C. with my
Right.
mom and my sister. I really wanted to go there and visit and whatnot. But yeah, it was all in Puerto Rico, man. So
Wow, man.
middle school,
Okay.
Puerto Rico. After that, moved to high school, and all throughout high school, still learning English and trying to get the best grades possible so that I could get to college. And you know, turning point, I wanted to study philosophy. Funny enough, so I was
Interesting.
always like a big nerd and always a thinker. I consider myself a thinker. I love
Yeah.
Science Channel. I love philosophy at a really young age, and I was reading. I remember reading The Fountainhead, and when I was younger,
Oh,
and it's like, yeah,
they're
this is
powerful
so
book.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to study like philosophy, and I told my mother, funny story. I told my mother, "Hey, I wanna go to college and study philosophy." She looked at me like, "What?
Yeah. Immigrant
Yeah, you're
parents
gonna
like
go
that.
broke? What the hell?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, "Okay, maybe I'll reconsider." And I was
Yeah.
looking around at my interests at that time, and Formula One, like the car racing, came up.
Yeah.
It's like, this is really cool. I've always liked cars. Why don't I study something that has to do something with it? Then I looked around. I was like, oh, there's mechanics, there's engineers, and all that. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna go into mechanical engineering and see what comes of it. So, like I think it was the last day that you needed to apply to college. I was like, hey, what do you want to do? I was like, engineering. Yeah, sure. I want to do that. And I was like, first major a preference, it was I think in mechanical engineering, second electrical, and the third one I don't even remember. I just remember those two, and I got my second pick. So my
Were you
first
like an
pick,
honors? Because I sense a lot of intelligence. Were you like an honors student throughout school and stuff, like high
yeah, I
grades,
forgot to mention. Yeah, I
right?
was always on the honor roll. I
Yeah.
was always on the like the what do you call that?
Like the
Um,
awards list, like
yeah, top
high perform.
students in the
Yeah.
region, whatever. I
Yeah.
was always like maybe two, three. And funny stuff, I didn't used to study like at all.
Hmm.
So I was just, go to class, listen, and soak in.
Yeah.
But that worked to my detriment when I was in college because I was used to
Mhm.
not studying. I was like,
Right.
it's all easy. It'll just be a walk in the park. And then I got to
Yeah.
college where there's a lot of smart people, and I just
Hmm.
hit a wall. It's like you have no study habits
Yeah.
whatsoever,
And you have to develop
and you
that there.
need to
Yeah. Of
study. You need to develop those study habits to be good at memorizing information at school
course.
in
Yeah.
college.
Yeah.
So yeah, so yeah, I was always top
I find it
top number.
interesting. Sorry, I find it interesting. I don't mean to interrupt you there. That you're so it's like you were good in writing and you were good in like science and math and stuff. Because people typically go, "Oh, I'm more of a science and math person," or "I'm more of a writing, literature, philosophy person." But like you very much have both in you, and you were like, "Hey, since I'm more like, did you ever find that like math was an issue for you, science you liked?" Because that's kind of like the vibe I got is like you really, although you really appreciated philosophy, you also loved science and like the practical engineering elements of it as well, right?
Yeah, definitely. I sensed, if I recall, um, I like both, but I struggle with math. And what I mean struggle is like it was difficult for me to comprehend it first, and I had to
I see.
spend more time like trying to get it in my head.
Yeah, same here. Hmm.
But I read when I was in high school. I think it was the Da Vinci Code and Angels and Demons.
Yeah.
Angels and Demons by Dan Brown. It touches a lot on science and
Mm.
philosophy and religion and how the two merge. So that really, got me thinking. I was like, yeah, there's a lot of poetry in math, a lot of poetry in science, and you see the divine, at work.
Yeah.
And wherever you look, when you look at math, for example, number pi, which
Yeah.
is a miracle number, it's used
Yeah.
in engineering and all sorts of things,
Yeah.
and it's just and it's it's a feature of nature, and it's weird to understand. And it's like this number keeps coming up, just like the number e, which is the exponential and logarithmic number. It's just keeps coming up in science. It's like, well, where did this come from? We don't know. Okay,
Fibonacci
perfect.
sequence
Just
and
take it
like
as it is. Yeah.
these patterns in nature that you keep seeing, right? It's like math almost like encircles the universe. If they only made math to a child seem fascinating, right? It's like like with math and with understanding these numbers and how these come together, you can literally communicate and send messages across the universe. You know what I mean? When you understand how everything is, there's numbers involved in everything, right? So it's super fascinating. I find I was also similar to you, had a more of a challenge with math and stuff, right? But of course, like, knowing it's an area to improve, like, I put the focus on and improved it, right? But I had my own natural tendencies, but like for you, it's very interesting because you have like there's like multiple facets of it. And as you read that book, it seems like there's science, there's what's it called? There's philosophy, there's science, there's religion and spirituality. Like these things merge. And that's very much what we talk about here too. So like that's why I really am fascinated by your perspective, and yeah, like I want to know how it led you to where you are, this
Yeah, of
journey.
course. I forgot to mention too, like my family was were big time churchgoers when I was younger. Specifically, it was Protestant. I don't know if that's what you call it, Protestant.
Yeah, Catholic, Protestant. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Protestant, but like evangelical. Sorry, evangelical, like big shows, big singing, big dancing.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
was at the same time going on as the military school. So I got
Oh
these two
wow.
things going on at the same
Both
time,
very
really
rigid,
shaping my
structure-oriented things,
yeah,
Yeah,
really shaping
yeah.
my view of the world, right? Then I thought about all that, and it's like, oh, it's bullshit, and I had my rebel phase, and then I came back, so it's
Yep.
all over the place. But yeah, but moving on, I left off from when I was high school, deciding I got into engineering school, University of Puerto Rico, Maya West. There's Funny enough, there's 11 different University of Puerto Rico campuses in the island,
Oh
and
wow.
it's a
Okay.
lot of campuses for such a small place, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I got to go to the engineering one. So it's on the west side of the island. I live in the near the east side, so it was like 2 or 3 hours away. So I had to move away from home at like 19.
Right. Okay.
And you mentioned one of the episodes on your other podcast, right?
Mhm.
That it's critical for a man to move out of the house as early as possible.
100%.
And I see this in some of my other friends that didn't move out of the house, they're still living there,
Yep.
and they're like almost 30 years old. Nothing wrong with that, right? But I don't see the drive to move away.
Yes.
And that's sometimes what holding them back. So I
Mm-hmm.
had to learn, at this 18, 19, I had to, start college life in a dorm, in a place I don't know. I had to get new friends. I had to meet new people. I had to live on my own, which is all at the same time going on. And I
Yep.
saw a lot of people get lost. They didn't
Mhm.
have a strong upbringing,
Yep.
or they didn't have, a mission in
Mm-hmm.
life, and they started drinking or started partying. Their grades started to go down.
Yep.
Mind you, I'm not a saint. I did all that.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
So
but some people get pulled into it and sucked into it because of that lack of purpose and direction in their lives, right? It's so
right.
easy, and it's a typical thing they say. It's like your kid goes to school, becomes a drug addict, comes back, right? Those
Yeah.
kids do not have that. Like they were in school most likely for shit that they didn't like or they didn't give a shit about, right? That's why,
Right.
like, a key thing that it's like I keep mentioning on this podcast and throughout the videos is like having purpose and having a mission or meaning behind what you do. So that's why, like, I want to know how you got into engineering and
Right.
specifically aerospace, how you got there. But like, just bringing it right over here, like it's like, yeah, definitely that happens in school. And I've seen it. And I myself kind of got pulled into it too, right? And then I had to learn and I had to find meaning and of course, the audience has heard my story, but like more than that, it's something that it's like you have to experience and grow through. Otherwise, like you're still naive. You know what I mean? It's like as a man, especially going out, and I'm glad like you were armed with the right mental tools to be able to not get sidetracked, right? Like from your upbringing, the discipline. I think the religion stuff has, an effect in terms of again having discipline mentally. But also you said you went through your rebellion phase, you had more of an awakening as well, and then from there, now you're kind of like being adults, right? Like living on your own, starting a life brand new, seeing people how they operate, how some people get distracted and pulled, but like you stayed focused on your track and okay, and then yeah, we're not saints, bro. Like we all fucking like
Yeah.
we party and stuff in school. That's even now, you and I were partying a year ago, right here in Toronto, right?
Yeah.
Celebrating a lot of the success we had. So
Partying it up in
um,
Toronto. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, bro, please go on. Yeah.
Yeah. No, don't worry. So yeah, first 2 years. Yeah. Talking about not being a saint. First 2 years of my college life, I got sucked into that life. Right. So I started, drinking, started partying, started playing a lot of pool, like billiards.
Oh
It's
yeah.
which big time. Yeah, I got really good at that. So I met some of the friends and around that environment, and I was like, man, we're going out, we're having fun. I was cutting classes, which I was paying myself, the classes. I was like, what am I doing,
Same here. Yep. Been
and my
there.
grades started to go down, and with the grades, like 2 years later, it really hit like a wall when
Mm-hmm.
I lost a scholarship. So I had a scholarship for from my workplace, from my mother's workplace. Sorry, they had like a scholarship fund that they contribute their monthly expense, whatever, and then they would play to kids of the job and pay for the college tuition. Not entirely. It was it's substantial. It wasn't like the whole thing, but
But
it was
still, it's still a good
substantial.
amount. Yeah, yeah, still a good
Right.
amount.
So my GPA dipped below 3, and that was the cutoff. And it's like I lost it, so I had to pay out of pocket a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm not doing this stupid mistake again.
Yeah, yeah.
So I started really getting to, okay, I'm gonna fix this first. I'm gonna get my GPA above 3, and I do that by stop drinking, stop going out, stop hanging out with the friends that want to go and hang out at the time. And this is really important, guys.
Got it.
So the people that you spend most time with will dictate your life. So choose them really carefully. And I cannot stress this enough. If you have 4 friends that go out and party, fine, you can do that. But if you think that you're going to force yourself out of that by still hanging out with them and talking to them, that's just not going to happen. You're going to get pulled into it. So might as well find new friends with the same goals that you have, and then start hanging out with them, and that'll definitely propel you where you want to go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we've all heard the thing, you're the average of the 4 people you're around most. But I mean, it's so fucking true because it's like as you're around people, right, you start to pick up on their language, you start to pick up on their behavior and their habits, right? And the biggest thing, at least in school here, I was in Canada, this was even before legalization, weed was huge. Now it's even bigger, right? And it's like you go in and it's like that's all they're doing. They're just like hitting the bong, right? Getting stoned and like literally losing that focus that they would otherwise have to accomplish it, right? Now, some of them would use it as an excuse. Like I had roommates that like they would smoke a bunch of weed and they would freestyle and it was nice. You could see them create art, but like you can still do that without weed, right? And again, it just becomes a simple like dopamine rush, right? Some people get it through cigarettes, through sugar, through whatever, right? But it's just an easy escape mechanism. And the fact that it's so harmless is what makes it is what makes it harmful. You know what I mean? Because you think it's not doing anything, but it's so subtle you don't notice it, right? And I myself got pulled into it, and I had to learn to come out of it and to be in an optimal state. And that's what this is about. To awakening, awakening your evolutionary instinct is awakening that aspect of yourself that sees no limit, right? And is continuously seeking to improve. And it's almost like a flow state. And, the self-development journey becomes like addicting at some point. But like this is the phase. You're reminding me of exactly when I was 18, 19. Like those are the exact things that I went through as well. But very interesting. Like I dropped out and I got into sales and entrepreneurship. But for you, because you were an engineer, that is literally one of the fields that it's like crucial to have the technical understanding and the certificates and the schooling, right? So that's a very different thing. I don't want people to confuse those, right? The point is to get the knowledge you need to do the job right, right? And that's very interesting. So what happened then? So this was first year, lost a scholarship. Then was that like a wake up call for you? Is that what
Yeah,
kind
definitely a
of,
wake up
yeah,
call, man, because I let down my mother first of all,
yeah,
which my mom's really big part of my life,
yeah.
because my parents were divorced when I was like 11,
Same
so
exact age that I,
I
yeah,
lost.
yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
it's
That's
really
interesting.
weird.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I lost like my dad, not lost, but he wasn't living with us. There was no father figure around to guide
Get
me to
it?
wherever. And even
Hmm.
when he was, there was like he wasn't such a strong,
The presence
masculine
wasn't there
figure.
fully. Yeah, yeah.
So I was like, my mom was my world, and when I disappointed her, I disappointed her workplace. So everybody found out, like, hey, your kid,
Mhm.
lost the scholarship. What happened there?
Yeah,
So I was like, I
yeah.
didn't want to let her down anymore, and I didn't want to let myself down. So I got into
Mhm.
this because I wanted to do something. I'm gonna focus, and I'm gonna go the way that I need to go. So I
Mhm.
was, started to take it very seriously, studying every
Nice.
single day. And I'm not gonna say it was an overnight success, but I started pushing through it and
Put in the
getting,
work to get
yeah,
there. Yeah.
especially the math. So I mentioned earlier, like math was really hard for me,
Yeah.
and because my public school background, math wasn't really great. Like math was really simple. I was getting like first grade, second grade math, like 12th grade. And
Yeah.
that's not good if you want to get into engineering, which is all math,
It's
right?
all fucking math. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I literally had to take like the simplest courses in math. Like I had to add like squares and squares and then add circles and circles in college. It was like so
Wow.
degrading.
I would have never
So
guessed. I thought you were
yeah.
always good. Yeah.
No, not at all. So I had to start there from the bottom. So
Nice.
I worked my way up, and then I got into, algebra, calculus, differential
Yeah.
equations, and all the cool maths that
Yeah.
do
That's where it
stuff.
stopped for me. The learning for me stopped
Right.
right there. I was like, just keep it at financial and like interest and like money math. That's all I care. Right. But
Yeah.
for engineering though, that's crucial, bro. And okay. And then
Yeah.
that'll
And if
happen.
I may, there was this one video that I really remember. It was a
Yeah.
YouTube video, and it was I think it was Jocko Willing. You know Jocko Willing?
Ooh, I love Jocko Willing.
The
Yeah.
Navy SEAL guy
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
all about leadership. So
Yep.
when he was starting out his podcast, and there
Mhm.
was this one episode clip like on YouTube, and
Yeah.
it was about crushing college. And I was like, oh, I want to crush college. Let's see what this is about. And
Yeah.
he told the story that he went into the Navy SEALs, and then he got like he went on few deployments, and then he got into college and was like this big military buff dude in college
Yeah.
with all
We was
these
jacked
funny looking
motherfucker in there.
kids and the
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
professors. And he
Yeah.
was like, oh, you want to screw me over, professor? Bring it on. I'm going to sit on the front of the class. I'm going to ask a bunch of questions, and I'm going to be the best guy here. And I was like,
I
that's
remember
a
that.
great fucking attitude to have. So I started mirroring that. Funny enough, I don't know if it was the video, it was the moment, it was where I was in life at that point, but it all just converged into this like, this is what I need to do. And after that, man, every single college class that I took, I was that person. I was like not sitting necessarily in front of the class and being annoying, but always like, I have a doubt. I'm not gonna go until I, get answers. And that's also when you find out that a lot of these professors, man, they don't know shit. They're
They
teaching
don't,
something that
bro.
they don't know nothing about.
A lot of them. Yep. I'm so
Yeah.
glad,
So
Rex, you come from an academic intellectual background, like literally saying it as it is in there. This is across the Western world, not just Puerto Rico, bro. Canada's even worse, probably. You know what I mean? But yeah, go on. Yeah.
no, so I figured out like, hey, the book, it's there. I'm gonna study from the book.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna ask questions to the professor. So I started going that way. Plus, a lot of the professors didn't even want to teach. So they were professionals, they were doing research and all that. And teaching was more like a side gig for them. They needed to do it. And they were like, yeah, I'm not going to put any effort into teaching you guys. Just go study the book. And I was like, okay, fuck you. That's what I'm going to do. So I started doing that more. And that's when I really started to really learn, apply what I was learning in courses. But but yeah, when I was studying, there's a lot of emphasis on my school about internships. So you got to do an internship, especially in engineering. You got to get your experience in before you graduate so that you have better prospects. And it's like, okay, sure, I'll do that. I just go talk to the recruiter and get my first internship. Easy, not easy. So I went out to the recruiter. I was like, hey, here's my resume. Shitty resume, by the way. Here's my resume with all the fun stuff I've done, fun stuff like biking, fun stuff like going to courses, like, I don't know, gaming. And they were like, what's this? What are you doing? Like, you have nothing to speak for you. Where you're in college. Congratulations. Every single person is. And that's when it hit me like, man, you could be doing great in engineering school, but if you have nothing like extracurriculars, you have nothing going on outside that, you're not going anywhere. And then every single and like recruiter that I spoke to was talking about, hey, you should really get into a special project, or one of the teams, technical teams. So in engineering, there's this um, uh, focus on having like extracurriculars. And before I let you, go on, extracurriculars are like, let's say that you're in mechanical engineering, for example. There's this always the car project. To build a car from scratch, and you go and compete with other schools, or
Nice.
you go and design a bridge, something like that, and you work with teams, and you figure out what to do next. So
Right.
that's a big focus. And I was like, you got to do that, and I was like, okay, and that's where I went next.
What's that? Sorry, what was the last thing you said?
Yeah, that's where I went next.
Okay, okay. Very interesting, man. Was
So
it the third
so the
year that you were
recruiter
starting to,
part,
was this
yeah, go
third
ahead.
year? Was this the third year that we were starting to apply to jobs?
Yeah, third year, fourth year. I think it was third year engineering school, which engineering school is about 5 years, 5.5 years. It's longer than your typical college degree.
Right. Yeah, yeah,
But around the third year, it's like, hell, I'm gonna start doing this. And I didn't get a single offer that year, and for good reason. I didn't have anything going on for me. But a lot of the people that I was studying with did. I was
yeah.
like, let's see
Mhm.
what they're doing, right? So I was looking at people that had success in what I wanted to do, and I was trying to replicate what they were doing. So, guys, success, honestly, there's a lot of people that have done what you want to do. All you got to do is figure out what they're doing, copy and paste, maybe change something here and there so they make it unique. And you have, um, let's say, not free money, but yeah, free will.
Absolutely, bro. They judge your character, right? Oftentimes. And I mean, that's the biggest thing. I mean, I can see a lot of like great stuff coming in for like landing jobs here as well, like a lot of great information. And that's such a good thing that you mentioned. I mean, that's because for me, when I got jobs, right, in the beginning, I was always good at selling myself, right? So once I get my foot in the door, I can continue. But it was getting recognized in the beginning. That's a challenge. A lot of younger people might be listening to this in a college or whatever, right? It's like, how can you showcase your character? Right? So those extracurriculars really showcase, okay, this person's active, this person's competitive, this person's, a team builder, a team player, whatever. All these different things represent those qualities, which was the only thing these companies have to bank on, I guess, when they're judging all these different candidates, right? So it's really interesting. It's really interesting you say that. But okay. And then so third year you didn't get it, and then you started reverse engineering. And I always say this too for guys that are like looking for example, because my world is like sales and specifically software sales, right? And in that world, it's like there is a fairly low barrier to entry. But again, because there's so many people applying, like how are they gonna like out of 70 applicants, how do you get picked? Like one of the companies that I worked at before, I was a founding BDR, right? So amongst 80 applicants, like I got selected, but I did a lot of things differently to get noticed out of 80 people, right? To get picked, right? And so a lot of that comes from I mean, for that particular case, it's a little different. But I mean, if I was to land any job, I would look at the people that are already in that job, right? Their company, their LinkedIn, and literally copy kind of like their qualities. Because that's already like, I mean, you see the logic. The logic is very clear. You want to be an engineer at this company, look at what the engineers currently in that company are doing and what their LinkedIn consists of, and not just one, but multiple. Look at the winners and reverse engineer and make that yourself, right? It couldn't be any easier. But like sometimes people don't know the simplest things like this. And that's literally what you started doing is like seeing success. Okay, how can I replicate that myself, right?
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. So I started applying to different extracurriculars, and even they started rejecting me. It's like, why you gotta take me in? I need some experience. And
Yeah,
yeah, so same thing. What did these guys have in common? They have grit, they have other things going on,
yeah,
and little by little, I got a lot of interviews in with different teams, and I ended up taking, I think it was like a research project. It was really, really weird with one of the professors, and I stayed like 2 months and I went away. But
right.
then, this guy that I had taken a few courses with, he called me up and he was like, "Hey, we're building a team from scratch. It's gonna be about rockets. We're gonna build a rocket to compete in a whatever competition. You want to come in?" And I was like, "Sure. I don't know what it is, but I need something, so I'll go in." And it was really challenging. So at first, I was one of two people in the electrical engineering department within the team. So we were like six, and we had to really research, right? Research what it is other teams are doing, how do the electronics for this rocket work, how where do they sell these electronics? Do we have to make them ourselves? So the first few years of that special project or that extracurricular was really all about researching and, like you mentioned, reverse engineering what MIT and teams that win every single year, what they're doing, right? So what they're doing right, and we started really open sourcing all the information and compiling it and then designing a project around that. A few years later, we did our first big competition with them. I was the leader for the electronics department. Designed all the release electronics for the rocket, and also some payload electronics like boards. And funny stuff, COVID came around, and we didn't get to compete that year.
Oh
But
shit.
we had such a good like documentation of what we've done that we won 3 awards that year. First one was for project review, so the best made project reviews like documentation. We got another first place in like rookie of the year, so it's our first year ever competing, and we got rookie of the year, and we got a second place for, I think it was social media engagement. So we got 3 awards our very first year competing. That was really encouraging, right? And I had talked to the project leader that I really wanted to, be a leader in one of the departments or one of the projects. And he was like, sure, whatever. And it's like, okay. And come next year after that, he was like, hey, you're going to be the new project leader for the whole thing. And it was like, okay, first off, what the hell? Why? And he's like, well, because you asked for it, right? And there's another lesson right there, right? If you don't get what you don't ask for.
Yeah.
Um,
100%.
and this has happened a few times in my life. That was the first one. Second one was like I tell my coaching clients all the time, you don't get the salary that you don't ask for. So if you want to get a higher salary, or if you want to get like the job that you really really want, you have to. Sometimes you just have to ask for it. Of course, you have to prepare for it. You have to research and do all that, but sometimes all you have to do is ask. So
Don't undervalue
about
yourself
that.
too, right? Like if you have all these skills, if you have all this experience, if you have this all this ability to get the job done, whatever it is you're applying to, right? And let's just say the base entry, whatever you're applying is 50K, and you're worth 65, 75 as a base, whatever you do, right? Like shoot for that. Be like, hey, listen, and then it's like negotiation and stuff, right? It's like, I bring this to the table, I bring this to the table, right? What is it that you're looking for, right? And then having that back and forth conversation, but not undervaluing yourself. Because, when you consider some of these companies, they have lots of money to invest. And it's like, and the last thing you ever want is, coming across another coworker who's getting paid more than you for the exact same job because they negotiated and you didn't do it, right? And that
Yeah,
happens a
definitely.
lot. That's why they try to make you not talk about it. But I've seen it happen and sales a lot too, right? So you have to know your worth. And such a key point you mentioned there, for sure.
So yeah, definitely ask for the things that you want. But moving on from that, you know, uh, anyway, this project ended up being like a big part of my student career. We won a few awards that year, and the year that I was a leader for, we won like I think it was another social media award. Like they weren't taking easy on us for the second time around, so I was like, nah, you guys have to really compete with MIT and all these folks.
What were you
So
guys building? Were you building rockets?
yeah, we were building like 12-foot rocket, 6 inches in diameter. It
Yeah.
was like a 60-pound rock. It was really big. Like it was the first time that it had been done like in our school, and the first time that our team had ever done something like that. So we were a lot of firsts, and the school even didn't have the courses to designing all these things. So all the information for building the stuff we were getting off of free internet, off of maybe we
Your
were
own
contacting
research.
through LinkedIn. We were contacting like people. Hey, you work at SpaceX. Would you mentor us? Hey, you work at Blue Origin, which is Jeff Bezos's rocket company. Would
Yeah,
you
yeah.
mentor us? And sometimes they would reply, sometimes they wouldn't, but that's how we got our information, really hustling to get the info because we didn't know.
Did
Same with the
anybody,
rocket books.
like, was anybody like, because sometimes you get lucky. Like, oftentimes people get a lot of messages, but sometimes, like, even like for example, a junior, business development guy messaging me, like, if I have time, I feel good helping someone. Let me give you some advice. Let me give you some
Mhm.
tips, right? Did that happen actually from all the outreach you guys did to these people that work in these companies?
I think it was out of sheer luck and volume that we got a
Yeah,
few of them
it's a
that
lot of
actually
volume.
came
Yeah,
through. Yeah, that
yeah.
actually came through and, went down to the school with us, taught us a few things and give us
Wow,
a few
nice.
pointers. Yeah,
So
but
you did absolutely anything you had to do to get that information, and that was hitting up the experts, which is so smart.
yeah,
Hitting,
hitting up the
but
experts
literally doing
first
it.
thing.
Yeah.
And then like you said, reverse engineering what the other teams were doing. And I ended up graduating, and that team went on to continue competing, and they won. They ended up going to Huntsville, Alabama, which is where the big competition takes place. But that was like a really proud moment for me where they, raised the Puerto Rico flag, and there was like the team that I helped build is still going strong even after I left, which is funny enough a fear of many founders of entrepreneur, different companies. They fear like when they step out or they give control away to their team that everything's going to fall apart. And if it does fall apart, man, you did a horrible job,
That's true.
And if it
Training people,
doesn't, then
making
you did
sure
a
the
good job.
structure is in place. Yeah.
So yeah, after that, during that time, I had like my first internship, thanks to that project, and it was in aerospace. So there was this company called Harris Corporation,
Hmm.
which nowadays is no longer existing. It has another name. But
Hmm.
I was like, what the hell is Harris Corporation? So I started researching. I was like, oh, they make military radios for
Wow.
the whatever for the
Yeah.
U.S. military, and I was like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. I went to Rochester, New York, to work on them for the summer, and I ended up loving it. So I love the team. I love that they really took me in as one of their own, even though there were some cultural differences and also some barrier between the languages. But they really took me in like, hey, I see potential in you. Do this, do that. They really treat me like one of their own, one of the team, and even though I was just an intern. So that was really got me going. So I was like, I'm
You're an
gonna go,
engineering intern, right?
yeah,
At
engineering
this big
internship. Yeah.
company. Was it in Puerto Rico? Or did you go to the US for that?
No, this one was in Rochester, New York.
Oh, so
So
you actually moved.
upstate. Yeah, upstate New York. I had to move for the summer. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Nice. Nice.
Also, first time living abroad. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. So that's the first time you're there. Okay.
yeah.
What happened
So
after
so
that? That was literally the kickstart of your career, I think, like experientially, right? Like this company took you in, now you got direct experience. Like you have all this accolades, right? Winning competitions, and you've proved your character. Now these companies are like, holy shit, you know what I mean? Yes, this is the guy. Of all these random engineers, why go for someone, that hasn't been able to showcase their character? And then you learn from that from third year, right?
yeah,
Not
definitely.
having those accomplishments. That's
Yeah,
super.
it builds up.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Okay.
so funny enough, the skill set that got me into that position wasn't even the one that I was studying for. So the skill set was more like systems engineering. So I was studying electrical engineering, which is more like circuits and power systems and all that. And they were really focusing on systems engineering, which is like a top-down approach to engineering. And this discipline exists because aerospace is so complex nowadays that you really have to have like a team of engineers just to figure out what's going on and then assign people to do the work. So that's what systems engineers do basically. And I had the skill set from the rocketry team. So the rocket was really a complex system, and we had to use systems engineering to build it, to test it, to launch it. And they were like, "Hey, you have the skill set, come and take a job. And even though you don't are not studying this, here have the internship."
I see. I see. Okay. And then what happened after that? So after that internship, so you got that direct experience. Was that like 3 months? It's a couple months you were there for, right? The summer you
Yeah, it
said.
was 3 months and during the summer. And then after that, it just gets started, like you said, my career. So I always tell like my students and my coaching clients
Yep.
that the first job and the first internship are the hardest to get. So the
Hmm.
first internship, you really have to prove yourself like, hey, I can do your internship. Don't pick the guy that has other internships. Pick me, the new guy. Really invest in me. So you really have to come across as a solid dude or a solid gal and have like the extracurriculars. And
Yeah.
once they see that you have potential, then they can invest in you. And after you get the first internship, the second one, and the third one, and the fourth one, or whatever, whichever, it's gonna be a lot easier. So next time around, I think it was during COVID. Yeah, during COVID, I had like a 6 month long internship, which is what we call a co-op internship, where
Hmm.
you had graded and all that.
Do the same
And
thing here.
I had like it was in a manufacturing plant right here in Puerto Rico in the south, and
Nice.
I was there for 6 months, building, manufacturing basically aircraft electronics for a big corporation.
Super interesting. It's aircraft again, related to aerospace and
Yeah.
aerodynamics and shit. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Very
this is
interesting.
so I got into this industry by accident.
Wow. Here I am thinking it's like it's something you wanted to do, but no, it's like you get into it. Similar to how I got stumbled into sales too. You know what I mean? It was from like like learning communication, mastering it, and like becoming obsessed with that art of building relationships, right? And that got me into sales, but like, that was from me just conquering my social anxiety, right? That journey led me to being, wow, I can establish really strong, deep relationships and be able to help people and make a lot of money from it. So like, I was like, okay, this is great. And then of course, you and I both share coaching in common, right? Wanting to help out our clients, wanting to help people out. And that's awesome, bro. Wow. Okay. Very interesting. And so, you know, when it comes to building projects, I mean, you've always kind of had this, when we talk about a lot of people have heard of the mature masculine archetypes, right? Like there's certain four archetypes: king, warrior, magician, lover, right? We have all four. Some people have one more than the other. One thing that I think you and I both share in common is a natural tendency to want to like push for change, want to like lead and take the charge, right? Because it's like, the difference between a leader or someone who's like more of a, what's it called, like a player in the game itself. Maybe they're not a leader, but they're active in different parts of the business. They're a good follower or supporter, right? Some people are like that. Um, I grew up a lot, even with my friends, right? Like they would just sit around, do nothing. I'm like, guys, let's do this. You know what I mean? What are you guys doing here? Okay, let's go do this, and then let's do that after. Okay, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Then like to starting things and pushing for things, right? That's from a basic level. But I mean, you and I both had that in common, and so it's kind of interesting how your natural impulse is like, hey, can I take charge in this? And they're like, holy shit, if there's anybody that's like, going to be good at this, it's this guy that wants to do it and naturally has proven himself. And then you almost step into it, right? So, like, for anybody that has, like, like you might have natural inclination to be a certain way in regards to your skill set, how you operate, go into it, and you'll be surprised that you are it. If you have a suspicion, go into it. If you don't, you'll never know, right? Like if you never asked to be taking charge of that, imagine how different it would be, right? You
Yeah.
would have never like all of the domino effects that happened from there wouldn't have happened. So, I love that. I love that. Okay, so the thing in the internship you had first in the U.S. for 3 months, then you came for 6 months in the manufacturing these aerospace equipment, right? Like basically aerospace equipment. What
Yeah.
happened after that? So that was 6 months.
Yeah,
And
that was 6 months. After that, next summer I had another internship with another company here in
have you
Puerto.
graduated at this point, or this is like the
No,
last
not
year?
yet.
No,
This
this
is
is
all
the
one
co-op that
school.
you're getting in. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. This is all one school.
A lot of good experience. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Holy shit.
So
Yeah.
6 months, typically 6 months in an internship. Then during the summer, have another internship, and then next semester you take your courses and you're on advance because if you don't, you're never gonna graduate, right? So, so you take your courses and you keep that going on.
Yeah.
And next summer after that 6 month long internship, I had another internship during the summer. I took
Right.
courses for like a year, then another internship, and then like a final like 6 month long co-op with the first company that I actually internship. So I went all the way
That's
around
full circle. Were
6 month
were these
long.
companies all related in the aerospace industry?
Yeah,
They were
all of
all
them in
aerospace. So
aerospace.
once you
Yeah,
got
I
into it,
didn't.
you stuck to it, right?
Yeah, I just got into it and I was like, yeah, might as well double down and go
Yeah.
all in on this. So I
Kind of
got
how it
into
was
it by
with SaaS.
accident.
Yeah, for me, it was software industry. Like, as of all the things I sold, I really like software, so I got more into that. And then of all the different forms of engineering you've done, you got into aerospace.
Right.
What about it did you like in comparison to other fields of engineering?
Yeah, of course.
Why
So
aerospace?
aerospace, it's man, I would argue it's the hardest
Mm.
field and the most complex, right? So maybe you have I'm gonna use software as an example. Maybe you have like a software app that you want to build, and
Mhm.
you set up your team, you set up the Scrum, you set up all the things that you want to do, and maybe the project takes maybe 2 years to complete from start to finish. So
Mhm.
aerospace, the window is not that short. Sometimes it's decades. So you have
Mm.
like a really big system with part of a huge defense system that they want to build, and there's all these little intricate components that you have to put into that, and they all have to work together seamlessly without so aerospace, it's the biggest challenge there is, and I think that was what drew me into it. And I was like, it was
Challenge.
more of the challenge.
Yeah. Just
So
proving to yourself, you know what? I'm gonna do the hardest fucking form of
yeah,
engineering. If there's any, I'm gonna do the hardest one just to show you I can do it, just to show me
yeah,
you can do it, you know? I like that. Okay.
definitely. Definitely part of it. I wanted to challenge myself, and I was like, "Hey, the kid that couldn't do math when I started the college career now is doing aerospace." So like, "Hey, screw you."
Easy, bro. Yeah, yeah. Definitely. It's so easy to believe that, like even me, like I don't have a natural inclination for engineering. Like it's funny because I come from a family that does. Like my dad's an engineer and stuff too, right? But I'm like I have a different inclination. But what I can say is, you know, it was very very interesting. Like your path reminds me. There's a lot of different correlations, but nonetheless, continuing from where you were then. So then went full circle to the company you first internshiped at,
Hmm.
and man, and all those experiences, boom boom, the back to back you got. That's the value. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I think it's, experience is so key for finding those jobs and the names that you internship for and stuff too, right?
Yeah.
Um, some people get lucky and they go straight into a really good company and they don't get to experience those other ones. And I met a couple people, like I mean, I worked at a big tech company too, and I saw some people that like literally like 13 years, and that's the only experience on LinkedIn. I'm like, Jesus. So like you went right in, and then once you got in, it's like you interned there. You got hired there, and now you're like a fucking like executive there after like 13 years, like a high level manager there, and you didn't experience anything else because I guess that was a good company. Like I mean, it happens. I don't think it's very common, but I saw
No.
multiple people there. But that's if you're part of something, big and strong or something that, you're aligned with. So yeah, I mean, it's funny. It could happen to many different. I had to go through many different companies, so many different companies that I worked in until I got to a company that I really like selling for, and it's a product that is just as solid in the way that I want to get behind, kind of thing, right? But entrepreneurship is a big thing too. So
Yeah.
I mean, like as we continue, like where you're at now, I want to kind of finish up
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Go
then
ahead.
also I want you to touch on like the career because you also have this entrepreneur in you. Like we talk about working in these companies, and these are companies that's not so easy to get
Hmm.
into, right? You have to go through a grind of proving yourself to get there. So that's what we're talking about now. After that, like I want to also later on, but I want you to finish this. Mention how you got into entrepreneurship as well. That's
Yeah, of
super.
course. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll finish off the career
Yeah.
thing, the
Yeah.
college thing, sorry. So after 5 internships, right? I had my pick. When I wanted to graduate, I had like 4 offers that I had to choose from. And it's like all of these companies that I had worked for, they all wanted me to come back and work for them, and they all offer me different, salaries, different packages. And I was like, hey, how do I compare these things that are so different in different states, right? So that's where I developed also the skill set of negotiating offer letters, and also calculating, cost of living and all that. Because maybe $100,000 in New York, it's the same as $50,000 in like a Florida or another state where taxes are lower. And you don't know because you see the bigger number. It's like, I'm going to go straight into that one. So it's not until you compare the cost of living and the taxes and all that that you really get an understanding, and you get a baseline understanding of what the money is actually worth. So anyway, 4 offers. I analyzed them, and I was gonna get a lot of money in Florida and Texas with the company that I had last internship for. But I decided to stay in Puerto Rico, and I decided to stay in the island for other reasons. So my grandmother was sick,
I see.
and I had my family in the island, so I decided to stay here, take a big hit on my potential earnings,
Mm-hmm.
but double down on my roots, stay local, and
You there
really
with your family
start
as
to
well?
yeah,
Yep.
start to ingrain myself in the aerospace culture here. And
Interesting.
that's what I wanted to get to, is like, if you get a lot of experience when you're in school, you don't have to take like this huge risk of moving across states, and having to have, if you have a family, but bring them over to another place to see how it goes. When you're in college, you can do that without that risk. Sometimes they even pay for relocation. So if you're in another state, they pay like, I don't know, sometimes they pay like $1,000, $2,000, just so that you can move there and do the job. And
Nice.
then you have that experience in your resume. You can build it off of that, have multiple internships, and end up your college career with you can pick whichever place you want to work at. And it's a really cool skill to have. And also, because I was applying to so many places, I learned to write resumes. So I'm building up my skill set on what would be my future business, right? So I
Yeah.
had the skills for resume writing. I had the skills for interviewing with all these different companies and what they wanted to have, plus
Mhm.
this interviews for the special projects. So I ended up graduating, and I had like, I don't know, 50 interviews under my belt.
Mhm.
Really, really good experience interviewing. And also I had like a really good LinkedIn profile. So after graduating, I started working at this, local company, which is not local, it's international, but it was locally like in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get my friends in there too. So it's like, hey, uh, give me your resume. I can get it to the right hands. And they're like, hey, here you go. And it's like, wow, this resume is shit. So that's where I started, rewriting their resume so that they could get into the work that I wanted them to do and come work with me. And after they had like a good resume, and they had the interview and they were all nervous, they didn't know what to say. So it's like, okay, so they need help with the interviewing process too. And I started helping my friends get into the jobs,
Nice.
and that's how I developed skill set. And they started saying, oh, how much do I owe you? Do I have to pay you? I was like, wait, hold on, you don't have to pay me anything, you're my friend.
Yeah.
But I got an idea off of that, right? So I could
Yes.
help
Yeah.
other engineers and other people in STEM get into the space industry. And that's where I started, Tu Carrera Primero, which is your career first in Spanish. And it's all about, career coaching, writing resumes, coaching for interviews, and helping people get their professional profile and their career in progress and in shape so that they can have, the best career possible, basically.
Nice. Yeah, these are like some really solid career paths too. Like these are jobs that like they don't just hire you. You have to go through, I'm sure, several phases of interviews,
Yeah.
right? All kinds of tests they put you through, right? To know you're the right candidate. So, like the services that, Rex is talking about here is very valuable. I've seen him help several people. And even myself, like I mean, I'm not a career coach, but I help people get into sales jobs, and I've been looking at that too. I've been thinking about that. Okay, like there's a need in the market. These guys are unaware of how their resumes look. These guys are unaware of how they're coming across or how to showcase themselves to get noticed, how to stand out, right? Like in the sales career, I mean, I think this could apply to any job that you're applying to and standing out. But I mean, in sales, a big part of it is selling your character, selling your personality, selling your people skills, right? And the best way to do that is to put yourself on camera, put out your phone, take a quick video. Hey, Mr. Hiring Manager, I'm really looking forward to the interview. Want to send you a quick video, like a little 60, 90-second video tops, right? Give you a little bit about myself. I like to always send that. And I sent that and I would get really interesting responses. Nobody else is like showing their personality. You're getting on camera to do that, right? I even remember like, the job that I got hired into that was like 80 other applicants, all again for like a short period of time looking to get that job. I went out of my way to create a sales cadence for this company that I was interviewing me and like, hey, once I get hired, or I almost started acting as if I'm already hired. Here's how we're gonna do things. You know what I mean? Like, here's
Yeah.
once I get hired, here's how we're gonna do things. You know what I mean? I'm gonna have email one touch point. I'm gonna have LinkedIn touch point here. I'm gonna do this and that. Right? I wrote email copy. Like I did all this extra shit they never asked me to do to showcase I'm that guy for this fucking job. There's no one better. Right? And as I did that, it's like the guy was blown away. Holy shit, okay. Right. And then immediately set up the next interview and the next interview. And then it's like, and then I also had room to negotiate too, because they had all these other candidates, right? But they didn't have someone that showcased the actual ability to do the job this well, right? And so, and then I end up getting hired from there. But again, it's like, what are you doing to stand out, right? And Rex has so many ideas. I mean, I'm not in engineering, but there's all kinds of intricacies that are involved in that field that I would highly recommend anyone that's into that, right, in that field of engineering and wanting to get into aerospace engineering as well to head up Rex. Rex, we can definitely put in your plug and stuff as we continue in this. But where can people find you if they're just listening to you right now? What's the best place to hit you up?
Yeah. So best place to hit me up is definitely on LinkedIn.
Hmm.
You're gonna see my name on screen. It's gonna be Rex Demming.
Hmm.
Also by Tu Carrera Primero, which is your career first. Just translate it. Use Google Translate if you don't know Spanish, and
Yeah.
send that up. And definitely connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm really active in there. I post almost every single day, and I'm really active. Always checking in my DMs. So hit me up over there, and yeah. So I'll get you set up if you want to get into aerospace.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay. And okay, so then you got into this job. You stayed in Puerto Rico. How long has it been since then? Like so you've been in there in that company, or did you move companies once you got into that field?
Yeah, of course. So I graduated. I started working at this company in
Mhm.
the west side of Puerto Rico, really close to the airport.
Yeah.
And I spent 2 years working there. And when I was doing systems engineering for navigation systems for airplanes. So
Oh, wow.
these big boxes that have all these sensors that tell the orientation of the airplane, where it is, and where
Right.
it's going to go and all of that fun stuff. And I spent 2 years working there, developing my skill set, and also I was doing software testing. So I
Mhm.
developed this skill set in that job that's all about verifying and validating that the software is doing what it's actually supposed to be doing, right? So checking requirements and checking customer requests and all that. And I developed this really useful thing for reading basically lines of text, not code, text, that
Mhm.
said, hey, the system shall do this. And if it's not doing that, then you need to call out and say, hey, it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. We need to, tell the customer or redesign or whatever it is you need to do. And, I wanted to move up in the position. So I started as engineer one, first position. And I wanted to go on to engineer two, which is the natural progression after, 18 months, 2 years. And, I interviewed for a role with my boss and three other people. I ended up not being selected. And I asked why. And he told me, well, it was not your turn. You've not been here the longest. And I was like, oh, so it's not about performance. It's all about, how long you've been here. All right, sayonara. I started interviewing in other places, and I actually got another job offer, which is where I'm currently working at. And I went, hey, boss, here's what I'm doing. I'm going to go be a software engineer for verification and validation.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do about it. And he's like, hey, hold up, because this, how these big corporations work, they have budgets for like retention.
Yeah.
And so if you come with an offer from another place, they're going to want to, the process is that they want to retain you, and that
Mm.
part of retention is offering maybe a higher salary or giving you another job.
Mhm.
And the he went and got the other offer and was like, no, I'm gonna still go. And then I ended up going to my new job, which is much better, I say.
Yeah. Yeah. I know the
It's much
feeling.
better. I really like the team
Yeah.
dynamics at my workplace.
I love
And
that,
even
bro.
though it's a corporate job, it doesn't feel like it
Yeah.
because it's a big company. It's a corporate international corporation, but the site here, it's new. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of people that are like me. So they're trying to build their teams from the ground up.
Driven, they're
They're trying to
ambitious. Yeah.
gain all the information that they can perform the job better.
Right.
And there's a lot of self starters, a lot of young people, and I really
Mm.
like the startup culture, let's say, on this
Yeah.
big
It's a big
corporation.
company, but it's got like startup culture, and there's very good reasons for why that is too. And I like that. You're collaborating with a lot of like driven people, it seems, right? That's
Yeah,
what makes it cool.
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely collaborating with a lot of really, really good people, and
Nice.
also, with the coaching, I'm getting a lot of great coworkers. So
Yeah.
I'm not helping this company officially get new people in, but unofficially behind the scenes, I'm definitely, making their
Driven
job
people.
easier by reviewing people's resume, getting them into
Mhm.
the referral process, getting them through the interviews, and basically I'm saving them a lot of money on interviews. So
Yeah.
that's naturally, the next step in my business
Smart. I
processes.
see how it feeds into each other. You're already in it, and you know the right candidates and stuff, and then you can present these candidates, right, to them.
Correct, correct. Yeah.
And
So
it
it's
doesn't even
not,
come in conflict with what they do. It works perfectly, if anything, right? It's not they
yeah,
can't say, "Oh, you're starting a business on the side." It's like your business helps us. Please
yeah.
keep
Please
doing it.
continue.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome, bro. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So finishing off the career thing. So right
Yeah.
now I'm a software verification and validation engineer
Hmm.
for this aerospace company. I'm working on defense projects. Basically, I'm not gonna go into much
Of
detail on
course.
that,
Yeah.
but yeah. So really big, really cool stuff with that going on, and also with the coaching. It's been almost 18 months now doing the coaching thing, and it's been great. This year 2024 we've helped people get over $2 million in offers. So if you
Wow.
add all the offers, you get
Nice.
more than $2 million, and across the board 5 out of 5 reviews. I Funny enough, I haven't had a 4 out of 5 review, which would really piss me off,
Great.
or a zero out of
Yeah.
five, which we really, sometimes
Yeah.
1 out of 5 reviews are like really angry at something. And
Yeah.
once you fix it, they turn easily into a 5 out of 5.
Yeah.
But I haven't had like a really 4 or 4.5, which now that I'm saying it, I probably will. But, but yeah, so really good reviews across the board. I'm not to toot my own horn, but yeah, what I do
Totally.
is
That's amazing.
I've been told that
Absolutely.
what I do is unique and there's nobody else doing it in
Mhm.
this area and this expertise. So I'm really
It's
proud
much
of
more
that.
general. When these other recruiters of services of recruiting and career coaching, like there's no one that's niche and specialized in aerospace in the way that you're doing it. And I think it's a huge opportunity, you know, to learn from Rex as he's offering these things. And I see you releasing all kinds of content on LinkedIn. So there's a huge value add to follow Rex on LinkedIn as well, especially if you're interested in this and want to get into this. So definitely do that. Awesome, bro. Okay, so then I mean, you started your business while you were working, and is it like
Mhm.
a year ago, a year and a half, 18 months?
Yeah, 18 months ago, year and a half.
18 months. Nice. Okay, awesome. All right, so I was curious, a lot of people might be wondering, like as they're going through these interview after interview, right? Um, how do you maintain a positive attitude or not get discouraged after rejections? Because people don't realize how there's kind of like there's that visual. I don't know if you've seen it. It's like a guy that's like mining, he's cutting through, and then there's two of them. One pushes through, and the other one gives up right before the diamonds are there. So like if you
Right.
had one more interview, you would have gone in, but you gave up too quick. So people miss, just like sales, interviewing is a numbers game. You have to go through it. And every interview, you learn so much. You know how you were saying you had 15 interviews under your belt and you learned all these things that literally made you an expert in like understanding the whole process. People have to go through it. And so how do you maintain a positive attitude or not get discouraged after not getting the job?
Yeah, definitely. This is something that I discuss a lot with my clients because a lot of times when they hire like me, it's because they're frustrated with the process. So, if you think you can get a job, you're not going to hire someone to help you get the job because you think that you're going to be able to do it. But once they hit that wall, they're like, damn, I've been trying for months and, I've not been getting emails back. I've been getting ghosted or I have been getting interviews, but no offers. What am I doing wrong? And that's when we start, making an assessment of, okay, let's look at your resume. Is your resume getting people's attention? And if it is, and it's getting your interviews, then what's going on in the interview? Is the interview, I actually do it like a mini interview with them to see how they're doing. And if it's, oh, definitely your interview, you're not communicating your value. You're not, doing all these things that you need to be doing in order to come across as the best candidate, basically. But when they get discouraged and they come to me, there's like, oh, help me out here. What's the best thing? And you have to realize, like, look at the other side. Look at the corporation or the company that's trying to get someone hired. They have to, as a recruiter, people have to parse through thousands and thousands and thousands of resumes sometimes. They have to, pick the needle in the haystack that's going to be a potential good candidate. They have to interview. And then after that, they have to fill a position like a limited number of days. And they have like 50 of these positions to fill. So they don't really have the manpower or the time to take every single person that comes in or that submits the resume like a really detailed attention. So it's more or less a numbers game, like you mentioned. You have to really apply to a lot of places to even get an interview. And once they start doing that, they get some interviews under their belt and they get, okay, I see that this is now a process. It's nothing wrong with me. It's just that the system it's built so that they get the most amount of candidates in the job system and that they can then choose from it. So I have to stand out from this automated system so that I can get noticed by a real person and that person can interview me. And we do a lot of things that are not typical. So one of the things that we do is like, sure, you have to apply it to the job site online. And once you do that, you're going to go on LinkedIn and you're going to go and type in hiring manager for the position that you're actually applying for. And there's a lot of people that are going to come up. And then you start connecting with those key people. You start messaging them. And most of the time, they'll message you back and like, hey, what's up? I applied to the position that you have open. It would really be a good, thing to talk to you. And you offer some type of value on that first interaction so that they have, something positive to attribute to you. Just like in sales, I mean, when you talk to sales people, they immediately have build rapport with you and they start looking for things that they have to relate. Same process. So you start relating to them in some things, and they're not gonna remember the guy that just applied online and then they interviewed. They're gonna remember the guy that followed up, that went out of their way to write to the hiring manager, to look for the hiring manager, and start doing all these things that will get you at least noticed, right? So we want to first get noticed, and after that, you can communicate your value effectively in the interview and hopefully multiple interviews. And then after that, it's all about, when you get an offer letter, negotiating the best offer. So there's another skill set right there, which is you might get an offer and you might be good at what you're going to do, but they're not going to pay you like you will want. So there's another whole skill set about negotiating and really coming up to the negotiating table with, the willingness to back out. And sometimes it's really, really hard to back out of a job that you really need.
Yeah,
You have to be
exactly.
willing to do it.
And then like not showcase that you're desperate either. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like
that's a
that's
good
a
one.
big thing, you know? So I've been there, bro. I know exactly what you mean. And one of the things that it's really interesting you mentioned messaging the hiring managers is that's literally what I did for one of the previous tech roles that I had as I was interviewing myself, tech sales roles. I literally found the sales manager, right? And I put myself in their shoes, right? Like you have to find people's incentives and give it to them. Like, why should this person care, right? And I could tell this person's managing a team of salespeople. Not everyone's an A player, right? Maybe this person might be thinking about letting one of them go because they're not doing their job, right? And they're now looking, it's like, okay, like, well, if this person leaves, they're kind of like in this place of like, I might be letting go these underperformer people because in sales there's it's a very much a performance based job. So if you miss
Mhm.
quota like a couple times back to back, they're just going to let you go because you're not performing, you're not doing your job, right? But if you do hit quota, you get very good commission, and that's you have a skill set, it's consistent, and it's some people end up having longer, but usually I've seen the tenure to be anywhere from like 6 months to 2 years, year and a half, right? Before they switch companies. But I mean, it can vary, right? So I knowing this, knowing that, maybe they might not have the best reps, I message them. I'm like, hey, listen, I reached out to the person, use a video tool, and I sent a video to the hiring manager on LinkedIn after I connect to them, and just explaining, hey, I noticed you're the such and such sales manager here, and then I mentioned why I care about the company and its mission and how I would get behind it. Hey, and in a totally non-desperate way, if you're looking to hire, someone who does XYZ, exactly the role that they do, right? They can do it well, and we'll go the extra mile, right? I'm not here to clock out at 5. I'm here to get results, blah, 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 because they want to see, again, salespeople, like they want to
Yeah.
see that, you want to make money. That's in this field at least, right? And like I showcase those qualities that I know they're looking for. And then sure enough, a day later, the person's like, wow, thanks for making this video. It's super cool. Like I haven't had this before. Yeah, let's actually jump on a call and talk. It's an informal, like it's not really an interview, but it's like, let's see if we
Yeah.
connect. And from that, it's like, yeah, we do connect. I want you to apply. We're actually going to be hiring in a month from now, to this portal and do this and mention me. And then boom, I went to the top of the list and got the
Yeah.
interview versus, the people that are just starting to apply, I'm already a step ahead. Right. So
Yeah.
it's taking those extra steps to get noticed, right? So key, so key. And yeah, and then when it comes to negotiating, bro, like I need advice on negotiating still now. You know what I mean? Like, fuck, it's such a key thing. Even, when it comes to even your own salary and like understanding it, right? There's a lot that you and I have talked off camera, but other guys are looking to understand how to truly negotiate their salary. Definitely hit up Rex and look into the things that he has to offer because so many people are getting fantastic jobs and nice high paying. The lives are changed, bro. Like I'm sure you get like your testimonies like Rex. If it wasn't because of you, bro, I wouldn't be where I am. I wouldn't be in my house that I'm in. I wouldn't be doing the job that I love doing, right? And it's like helping them land their dream career because when you're going into a company you want to work into, like you go that extra mile. You hit different people up. Maybe you hit this hiring manager, they didn't respond, but you hit up two other people, right? Maybe there's two different roles that are maybe slightly related that you could qualify for both, right?
Yeah.
Like touch your bases, don't let anything just be up for chance. You never ask, you never know, right?
Exactly. Yeah, no, definitely take a proactive approach to your career. And if you're thinking about, maybe entrepreneurship or build a career, my advice is always if you're not from a lot of money, definitely get a good job first. And then you can build up from that and start, building other skill sets or, doing on the side wherever it is you want to do until you can the income from that, supplants whatever it is you're doing, and you can quit your job and work full time on your entrepreneurship journey, which is what I'm currently doing. Right, I'm not doing it full
Yeah,
time; I'm doing it on the side, but that's definitely the plan. I wanted to, keep growing and have it be done basically my main income. Um,
100%.
and aside from that, man, everything from the first interaction that you have with your future employer, it's part of the interview, right? So the way you communicate through LinkedIn, the way at the time that you, for example, connect. If you connect like at 9 o'clock in the morning, then they're gonna know that you don't have a job or that you're slacking off. So everything matters. So connect out of business hours. You're job searching because you already have something going on, and also the way you talk on LinkedIn, you don't want to come across as like Aiden said, like desperate. Because even though you might be desperate, you don't want to come across as you need a job right now.
Just like talking to
Because
girls. Just
yeah,
like talking to girls.
definitely, just like
Talk to them
yeah,
as if you're already getting girls. You
same
talk
thing.
to
It's
them
gonna
as if
turn people
already you
off.
have a job.
It's gonna turn people off if you
That's right.
really need something.
Desperateness is it's such a turn off. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And even for hiring manager, right? So I don't want
Yeah.
to work this guy. He's gonna tell me anything he needs to tell me to get the job. So I'm not gonna trust him.
Exactly. And trust is everything. Money comes to trust. That's what I always say. That's what my mentors taught me. And so like trust is so big. Establishing that, coming across an honest person, you know, and yeah, yeah,
That's
no,
such a good line. Yeah, definitely. Money goes where trust is, definitely.
it
Yeah.
always goes to trust. So, what are you doing to get that person's trust? How are you establishing your trust? Desperation definitely, and it's a value thing, right? It's like a status delta, some people call it, and it's like, you're seeing this person and in your perception, I mean, we're all hierarchical, like when you look at human beings, we come from hierarchy still. We're in an animal structure, like chimpanzees, there's structure, there's hierarchy, there's like the leader, there's the enforcer, there's different people, and they view each other in a manner whereby there's different ranks given often. So it's so very subconscious, I find. But like if somebody perceives you to be this low value person that's not confident, that's not driven or has those qualities, they're obviously not going to work with you. But if they see you, oh wow, okay, this guy's so driven, this guy has all these qualities I'm looking for, and they almost perceive you to be of a higher status person of like higher standards. Maybe they view you to have more discipline than them. It's like, damn, okay, if this person comes in, they're gonna make me look good because I was the one that hired them, right? I was the one that did this. So I kind of always take into my mind, keep in consideration what's their incentive, what's in it for them, and I come at it from that angle, right? A hiring manager wants to hire good talent and wants to get recognition for bringing in good talent, right? Or sales manager, for example, right? Or any manager of any field really is responsible, a lot of these people, for bringing in good talent. So, you're that good talent. You're that person that's trustworthy. That's the person they're looking for, right? So very, very, very good point that you mentioned there. Okay. And
Yeah,
then,
so
yeah,
definitely having empathy for the other person.
yes,
And sometimes people think that
I like
empathy is
that.
a feminine quality,
No,
but
no.
actually strategic empathy, it's masculine quality, right? So Sun Tzu, the art of war, you have to
Yes.
know your enemy to defeat him. In this case, you
Yes.
have to know the hiring manager to be able to get hired. So you have to be able to put yourself in their shoes. And like
Yeah.
you said, what are they really looking for? If are they looking
Understanding.
for somebody that's going to make it look good, it's going to make them money, it's not going to be a hassle to work with, they're going to
Mhm.
have a good reputation, and they're going to be cool to work with. So another thing that
Culture fit.
interviews are for are basically to see if they like you.
Yeah. That's so true.
You want to be liked. You want to be a likable person, and you don't become a likable person by, for example, let's say that you're trying to display your value. You don't say, "Oh, I've done this, this, and this, and in 3 years I built this and this prototype, and I
Yeah.
have worked at 5 companies, and you hire me because I'm the best person." I was like, "Screw you, man. We're looking here for people to be cool around, and of course we're gonna get the job done, but we also want to hang out." And if you're unlikable, you're not gonna get hired. And
That's
another thing
huge.
is, if you can't
Huge.
communicate your value well, you're not gonna get hired.
Huge, bro. I communicated like I I remember earlier when I was interviewing, I over communicated. I'm like, I've done this, I've done that. You know what I mean? If you want an A player, hire me. I'm like, okay, relax. Like I want something that's actually cool to work with. And I was like, oh shit, that's where I fucked up. And then the next one, I'm like, hey, listen, beyond work, you'll find me, in boxing, going out to social venues, go to concerts, hiking and shit. Like there's like I'll find relatable human to human things, and I'll shoot the shit with them on a human to human level so then they can actually see who I am and they can see that, wow, I'm actually cool to work with.
Yeah.
Right. And I remember like, I mean, some of these companies, they have like multiple different departments interview you. It's just so that they can like say if it's a big enough company, it's like, oh, we have an unbiased judgment. That's part of the policy or whatever,
Yeah.
right? And so all these different people interviewing you, like the first two might really like you, the third person might not like you. But for me, like as I did it, I kind of realized the different people that I interviewed, um, because I've done this for a long time, and like persuasion's the whole thing, that like that's the art that I'm mastering, that I'm studying every day. So I kind of adjusted to each individual, right? And then I saw there's a woman that, for example, like it's like the last interview, and she was like the global interview, whatever, like global head of operations of something. And I was like, yeah, like I mean, this is the final step, like other people have said great things. I'm just here to talk, blah, blah, blah. And I can see it's like the final check mark to see,
Hmm.
is this person a culture fit? And then the person was actually blown away because I mentioned things to that person that I didn't mention to the other people, which was like, because I noticed this person has some spiritual qualities to them. And I started mentioning actually what I do, which is meditating, right? And how much that brings me emotional control, peace, groundedness, right? And I mentioned a couple different methods that I've studied, and that person was all about it too. It's like, wow, for your age, this and that, like you're so much more like wise, you're so much more aware, right? Like people like that are coming in. I'm not having these conversations. That's really impressive, blah blah blah. But like adjusting to the different characters you're interacting with, and being able to persuade them, right? And at the end of the day, this is how you persuade them, right? People like to do business, or people like to work with people they feel like they know, they trust. That likability factor, what common reality do we have? This knowing factor, okay, like it's kind of like, okay, like we get each other. Your culture fit, right? Knowing them is like, knowing and trusting is very similar, but I mean, like, know, and trust. Like someone you just might meet, but it feels like you've known this person before. You
Yeah.
barely like, you're just meeting the person, but because they have so much in common, it feels like you almost know the person. So that's where the whole like likability building rapport factor comes in, right? Like one person might love talking about sports, one person might not like talking about sports at all, right? So
Yeah.
adjusting as you go, and so yeah, it's huge. It's so much of it is actually them seeing if you're a cool person and they want to work with or not. Because the bad person, the a person it's a terrible thing to add to a company, because it messes the dynamic. The same way, like in a
Yeah.
group chat, for example, like the masterminds, that I have, the men's personal development mastermind, right? The inner circle support, it's like I actually kick people out because they're not, if they're not a good fit, if their energy is off, their values are off, and they don't appreciate the teacher, they don't see the teaching, it can ruin the dynamic, right? So the same thing in a company, it can ruin the dynamic if you hire the person that's not a culture fit, and they'll immediately get rid of that person. I've seen people get hired and then get rid of pretty soon once they see that person's not a good fit. So I'm seeing bigger companies, they really take their time, and I mean I'm so happy, similar to yourself, Rex, that like I really like the people that I'm working with. Even the new person that gets out, I'm like, damn, they found like a really interesting person here. Each person unique in their own way. Like each person's in sales, but one person's like maybe has like a background in like, how do I put it? Like a variety of different. One person has like service restaurant industry back. One person's a comedian. One person's a filmmaker. One person's like,
That's awesome.
making music on the side. And like each person's like unique in their own way, but they're all like, driven. They all have those, base layer stuff that makes them good for the job. But after that, they're also really cool people outside of that, which is so big, right? As you were saying.
Yeah, definitely. And more along the lines of I like going to the gym and working out, and I work out with some of my work buddies, and that's another thing that you can really, if you like doing any extracurriculars outside of whatever it is you're doing, if you like, martial arts, if you like going to the gym, or if you like cooking, for example, you just start talking about the things that you like in your interview and weave it into the professional stuff. And some of them might, get caught up on that, and hey, I really like doing that too. But also, do a little bit of research. Part of the LinkedIn thing that I do is do your own research. So, for example, you look at the hiring manager, you log into their page, you look at the profile picture, see what they look like, and if they have like a background, traveling or something. So, like, oh, this person likes to travel, or if they have like tech stuff on the background, they like tech, they like what they're doing, and you just, somewhere sort of drop it into the interview, and they're like, oh yeah, I really like that. And just because you did your work beforehand, you got ahead on the likable stage, let's say.
That's so, so key, bro. And it's so basic, but it's so many
Yeah.
people don't do it. This is how you get that likability factor, like Rex said. Go through their profile, see what they have, see what they're all about. Maybe this person's all about like healthy eating. Maybe this person's all about martial arts. Maybe this person's all about traveling and whatever, right? The beach or concerts, start talking about concerts with that person.
Yeah,
I remember a
definitely.
VP of marketing, this person like loved EDM concerts. I noticed. I'm talking to them, previous companies I worked at, and I started talking to them, the person just joins EDM, and they were all about me. And all of a sudden, they liked me because it's like I
Yeah.
knew beforehand, like you like that. So I'm gonna bring it up, and like, And it happens. And the same thing in sales. I mean, it's so big. Like before a sales call, right, with a big prospect, some C-suite executive or some, whoever, like chief director that you're selling into, you go into the LinkedIn, you see they're into this and that. If you really want to go a step forward, you can even send them a gift, right? That will really stand out. I mean, I'm talking about in sales here, but I mean, it's the same process applies. Going through them and at report building stage in the beginning, shooting the shit, getting comfort, and then getting into like the discovery and the closing and everything that comes
Definitely.
after. But
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
man, yeah,
Another big part, if I
of
may,
course, yeah,
it's dressing the same way they do. So it's
yeah,
another way to
yeah,
build rapport. So if you look like you work there, then you're probably gonna get the offer. Now, I always say dress for success and dress the best way you can. So in
mhm.
interviews, I really like to, dress appropriately. I always have like Justin told us this when I
Yep,
was in the boot camp. You can't be overdressed, but you can be underdressed. So I
yeah.
always
You can
try to say
never
to
be
people,
overdressed.
yeah,
Me and Justin always say this to all the clients that we have, all the students, man. That's like you can never overdress. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Go in there and own it. You know what I
yeah,
mean? It's like, why
definitely.
are you overdressed?
So
Why are you underdressed? No, I'm ready.
yeah, yeah,
I'm
right.
ready for business. I'm ready to make connections. What are you ready to do? You know what I mean? It's
Precisely.
like you're not ready for anything right now. You wouldn't even get let into some venues if you went into what you're dressed right now. Like I'm talking with a hypothetical person that doesn't
Yeah.
appreciate power dress, right? Like I'm not, if I'm going to a bank, I'm gonna power dress, right? I'm gonna like right now I have my own unique style, right? For the brand that I'm representing, but like I might even put on a tie. I might even do this
Yeah.
and that, right? I'll look real proper and sharp, right? Because I'm dressed for it. And people will treat you differently. And as we've seen over and over again on boot camps and these transformation programs that we have here, like, a huge difference. So that's the first thing they judge you on, right? So
Yeah, definitely.
yeah,
For how you dress and how you look. So so some of this stuff with interviews, it's getting the basics right and all the details right. Like for example, one thing that really stood out to my manager when he was interviewing me was that I always say bring a printed copy of your resume. So nowadays everything is all digital. They can just look up your resume online, not online, but on their page. And I always like to bring a print resume, but I also bring like, for example, if I'm gonna get interviewed by three people, I bring one resume for each person so that they can, have a look at the resume, ask any questions that they might have.
I like
And that
that.
short little detail, it was like, how did you know you were gonna be interviewed by three people? And I was like, well, I looked at the email. So there were email, three people were CC'd, and
Calendar
I
invite
was
too,
like,
maybe. Yeah,
yeah. If
yeah.
one person sent the email, two people were CC'd, so three people are gonna interview me, three resumes, and that's how I
It wasn't
came.
hard.
Yeah, and it wasn't that hard. And it's just like,
It's that
attention to
initiative.
detail. Attention to
Yeah.
detail is like, oh, this person pays attention to details. They brought the resume. They asked questions about the resume. I referenced the resume in the interview. So it's like, oh, as you can see on the experience doing this, I did this, this, and this, and that's how I'm gonna help you guys make money or whatever it is.
Yeah. And some of the best ways to persuade someone is to like, you don't say I'm that, you are that. You demonstrate that.
Yeah,
For example, instead of saying I have attention to detail, literally showcasing attention to detail like that. It's so powerful because it hits them at a subconscious level too. It's like, I don't know why, but I like Rex, man. Like this guy's like so smooth, you know what I mean? When he
yeah,
came in for the interview versus these other guys, so clunky, this and that, you know what I mean? So very interesting. And sometimes even like if they really like you, like for example, I had a time where I was even late to my interview. It was a final interview, traffic, so many unforeseen circumstances. I was late half an hour, right? In my mind, I could remember me like in that moment, like I was like, it's like, wow, like, like what's the point of this and this and that? Like, you start thinking, it's like your negative thoughts start going through your mind. Maybe I should give up, but no, 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 no. I still went in, kept it positive, showed up, right? Thanked them for being patient, wasn't desperate, wasn't super apologetic and down on myself. I'm like, hey, everyone's here for a reason. They've seen me, they've talked about it, and I know they see me a certain way. So I'm gonna sell them exactly with that thing and more. Right. So going in, because they like me, because there's so much, like so many previous interviews went well. And so someone was literally, bringing me into that role, trying to bring me into that role. Right. Even though I was late, they still liked me. And at the very end, it ended up being really well. And they gave the job offer. Right. So when that was happening, again, if you do it right, if you do all the steps right, sometimes they'll let certain things slip. But ideally,
yeah,
you want to have nothing, obviously. But just know that if you do a good enough job, people will be understanding to that level. So never give up. Always push it as far as it can go, so you can see where it is and where you stand. Right. So
yeah.
really, really good stuff there. And So what's next for you, Rex? Are there any exciting projects or goals on the horizon? Let's tell the people more
Mhm.
as we begin to wrap things up here.
Yeah, of course. So the next thing for me, it's definitely, doing this on the longer term. I want to bring more people to work with me. So maybe have like a virtual assistant or maybe have like people writing resumes with me that I can teach so that I can start, having like a bigger strategic role within the business. And definitely, build it up as I mentioned previously. It's more of a business services company. I have a pool of talent that you can take advantage of. If you're looking for qualified candidates, let me know and all that. So definitely, shorten the amount of time and the expenses
Qualified
that
candidates in what? Just so people know.
yeah, qualified candidates for any position. And
Any position. So like, is it specifically aerospace engineering or engineering positions or?
yeah, it could. Yeah, I definitely focus on aerospace and inside STEM, so science, technology, engineering, mathematics.
Okay.
And if
Okay.
you're looking for roles, just I have a big talent pool, not
Yeah.
just because of my clients, but because I'm really involved in the school and I do like free workshops there.
I've seen
And
them. They're amazing, by the way.
I also have
Yeah.
like a networking chat that I have keep
Perfect.
going on, so like a community going on.
Huge
And I
asset.
want to do
Yeah.
like live events too. So that's gonna be building up the brand and building up the system that way.
Nice. Nice. That's exciting, man. That's exciting
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, definitely find Rex on LinkedIn, hit him up, and he'll tell you where to go.
Yeah, I'm gonna put my
Um,
screen right
yeah.
now. I'm gonna share my stuff if I
So
may.
yeah, man, of course. Go ahead and share your screen.
So it's gonna be this one.
I'm gonna
Let's see.
also share Rex's information in the description of this video, guys. So feel free to check him out and hit him up directly.
So
And
let's see if I
already
can do
there.
this real quick. Let's
No worries.
see. Let's see if I can do this. Let's move this out of the way.
Yep.
Here you go. So if you have to look at my screen right now, there's my contact information.
So it says
Um,
Rex has started sharing his screen. I don't see anything. Did you want to like? Yep, there it is. Okay,
there it is. Okay, awesome.
beautiful.
So yeah, this is my contact information. I'm the founder of Tu Carrera Primero. This is my business phone number. If you're outside the US, just +1. That's a US code.
Mhm.
787-303-4721. And that's my personal email. You can also hit me up on LinkedIn, like I mentioned previously. And if you're looking for a career in the aerospace industry, hit me up. We'll get you set up and we'll get you a job in 6 months or less.
Hell yes. Hell yes. I love it, man. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Rex. And again, guys, I'm going to put Rex's LinkedIn in the description as well. So hit him up through there directly. Any final thoughts, Rex? Anything you want to leave the audience with here? Um, any final remaining thoughts as we wrap things up?
Yeah, definitely. So guys, we were talking about, defeating ourselves before the big thing. And that's definitely something you don't want to do. So you definitely want to, anything that you do in life, give it your 100% and never, ever, ever defeat yourself before the enemy or your whatever it is beats you. So that's basically what I have to say. And also, you know, do what you have, do what you can with what you have right now. So if you're thinking about starting maybe a career or a business, just think about, what skills or what systems, what tools do I have right now? And what can I do with them? So my business started off that way. So I didn't have any special talent, any special tools to bring this all together. I was just doing it for fun or for helping my friends. And I had the forethought of maybe I can do this and I can help more people than my friends. And that's how this is starting to grow. And bringing helping more people get into the space industry. But yeah,
I love that, bro. I love that. Thank you for sharing that, man. That's incredible. And honestly, guys, it's been such a great fucking, interview today. Really excited for having Rex on board with us. Definitely hit him up. And yeah, I mean, with all that said, I, want to finalize it by saying, don't ever, piggyback off what Rex was saying. Don't limit yourself, don't restrict yourself, don't defeat yourself before the war is over. Okay, the war is going still. Don't fucking give up, right? Um, life you get out of life what you think you deserve, right? So dare to be great, dare to want more, and you'll be surprised when you ask, you receive. So I'm gonna leave you guys on that. Rex, thanks so much for joining again, brother, and we'll see you guys
appreciate it.
all on the next episode. Peace.
Bye, guys.